We continue to live in interesting times, and 2011 will be no exception. The near-term outlook is certainly for a continued two-speed recovery. We're seeing a brightened outlook in North America and to some degree in China. Commodity exporting regions are being raised in terms of the outlook. Two-speed recovery, though, will continue to be the main feature through 2011. Really a demarcation between developed and the developing world. Global recovery should pick up steam in the second half of the year, and we're beginning to see the worst hit sectors, housing and autos, rebound, and particularly consumer and business confidence improving, without a doubt in North America, to some degree in Europe. U.S. picking up steam, Europe, Japan improving in the second half, but we'll see emerging markets continue at 3 times the speed of the developing world, and as a result, a two-speed economy. Complex economic environment, certainly a complex global environment as well. How do we fare through this? Visibility is key. Visibility to markets, continuous understanding of market demand and growth is critical to navigate these waters. Nearly constant views of demand and growth in supply chain activity and cost. It's interesting, as we look at our customers, we are starting to think about forecasts on a weekly basis, almost a daily basis, which tells you that the need for information is insatiable right now as people try to make good decisions. Flexibility is the second key to operating in this environment. Operations, flexibility, planning allows you to create resilience to risk and volatility. Companies who are ahead of this are actively planning, thinking of future scenarios and using scenario planning as a large part of not only operations but their strategic outlooks. Stress testing those strategies against a number of unpredictable futures that vary from industry to industry and from company to company is critical. With the right information and insight, companies can make complex decisions even in the face of uncertainty and excel in spite of a pretty unpredictable future. As global investors, as global stewards of the future, we all have a pretty important role as we work in an increasingly global environment. The development momentum that companies bring to expanding economies is essential for robust and sustainable growth. Global investment means providing stable and expanding employment, as well as investing in skills in developing markets for employees we have there and others that we partner with. Businesses must support the expansion of transparent and accountable markets and regulation that allows us to flourish in those environments, to invest and succeed and see reasonable returns for that investment and risk. The World Economic Forum has done some very interesting things in terms of concerted efforts to bring companies together and partnering against corruption. IHS has been a very strong supporter of that initiative, and I think this is the kind of leadership that's critical to allow us an open global environment with which to do business that supports industries, supports developing nations, and local economies. We're seeing a variable response to the last 2 years, and we're seeing delayed impact and effects of the crisis of 2 years ago unfold. We must address imbalances. That variability in itself creates uncertainty and volatility. Developing nations with current account deficits need to begin rebuilding their balance sheets. We see that in some developing nations as well with regard to sovereign debt and debt levels that are unsustainable. Nations with high saving rates may have an obligation to invest in developing their own domestic markets. Beyond economic issues, education, transparency, and information are fundamental for building sustainable futures for all of us on a global basis. We realize now we're living in an increasingly connected, global, and common environment. There's very little that separates us any longer. That will only accelerate in the future. Resources are key to this. Stress on resources and usage on a global basis, access to water, hydrocarbon-based energy issues are global. Developing economies, growth, and population are also stressing resources locally and will increasingly stress them globally. We are seeing unparalleled progress in science and technology, medicine and communications, and these are bridges from where we are to where we need to be. Information, understanding, visibility in resource demand and usage and impact are key not only for local effective planning, but for us as business leaders and global enterprises to plan effectively and manage effectively. For example, in 2010, we opened our first LEED Gold certified office in Calgary at a reduced operating cost per square foot.